From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Welcome to the special edition of Cronkite News. I'm Lauren Michaels. Arizona is home to some spectacular scenery, endangered animals, and towns that make this state unique. Tonight, we take you on a tour of those Arizona treasures.
In the last 10 years, the popular wilderness recreation area Fossil Creek has seen a large spike in the numbers of visitors, up more than 400%. The creek runs through COCONINO and Tonto National Forests about 120 miles north of Phoenix, near the city of Camp Verde. Sustainability reporter Steve Dent looks into the problems this has created and what the Forest Service is planning to do about it.
This year, more than 40,000 visitors were turned away from entering into Fossil Creek. So the Forest Service proposed a new reservation system, which will help protect against the trashing of this outdoor, popular paradise. Fossil Creek has been deemed by Congress as one of 2 wild and scenic rivers in Arizona.
There was a time when certain areas of the creek were completely a secret.
The unique watercolor, lush vegetation, and waterfalls draw more than 80,000 visitors each year. But the increase of people in this picturesque wilderness has had a profound environmental impact.
I've been down here for 10 years, and I've watched the visitation grow. I've also watched those impacts and trash being left behind also grow.
Friends of the Forest volunteers like Gene Ober found enough trash on the 1-mile hike to the waterfall to fill a 10-gallon bag.
It's really depressing that the beauty of this area is being compromised by just a thoughtless action.
Over here I found 9 Rolling Rock beer cans, and everybody can do their part. It's simply pack out what you take in. Leave no trace, and that will help ensure that future generations can enjoy the wilderness. To reduce the human impact on this once pristine environment, the Forest Service plans to regulate the number of visitors by creating a reservation system, which will also make sure visitors know they won't be turned away at the gate due to overcrowding. But more organization comes with a price, a new $10 fee.
I mean, I'm split on it. It's kind of a bummer because it's been free the whole time, but then again, it is getting kind of needed because of the amount of people that are starting to come out.
The Forest Service hopes that with the changes, Fossil Creek will continue to flow as a wild and scenic river, deserving of its congressional recognition. The Forest Service hopes to have the reservation changes in place by the beginning of 2016. In the meantime, the public will have the opportunity to voice their concerns on the policy changes. Live in downtown Phoenix, I'm Steve Dent, Cronkite News.
Tribal leaders from the 4 corner states gathered in the nation's capital today for a historic first in an effort to save a site that is millennia old. Cronkite News reporter Adriana Barajas has the story from our Washington bureau.
You can't talk about who we are as people without talking about the land.
It was the land that brought tribal leaders to Washington today to urge President Barack Obama to protect 1.9 million acres of southeastern Utah as the Bears Ears National Monument.
Bears Ears offers something unique that we can't find anywhere else in the world, and so therefore it's special. It provides and facilitates, it negotiates with us the ability to heal through traditional ceremonies.
The effort is important for another reason. Alfred Lomakwahu said it's the first time tribes have gone together to press an issue directly to the president.
This is very, very important. It's a big breakthrough for Native Americans.
The tribes claim the Bears Ears contain thousands of culturally and spiritual significant sites, the same claim that has been made by San Carlos Apache Fighting, a proposed mine at Oak Flat in southern Arizona.
It's very similar in the sense that, the San Carlos Apache people, our brothers and sisters to the south, they relate to Oak Flats in a very serious way, in a very familial way from a sacred site standpoint.
Lomakwahu agreed, saying the tribes are charting a new path, and he hopes that the tribe's effort on Bears Ears can prevent another Oak Flat.
If it passes and with the co-management of native tribes, things like Oak Flats wouldn't have happened with the land exchange.
In Washington, Adriana Barajas, Cronkite News.
Now the tribes are urging Obama to use his authority under the Antiquities Act, which allows the president to create national monuments to preserve sites with natural or cultural importance.
Grand Canyon has become a battlefield not of combat and gunfire, but of policy and debate. At stake is a resource, the Colorado River, which many states, including Arizona, need to thrive. I took the 17-mile trek going from the rim of the canyon down to the banks of the Colorado River to see how a bold new idea has fueled controversy over the river's future. The Grand Canyon, it's picturesque. This iconic natural wonder of the world carries an essential resource that people are fighting over.
We're in drought conditions.
Well, we have water rights.
The Colorado River is a primary source of water for 7 western states. It was just rated the most endangered river in the country this year by American Rivers because of commercial and residential demands. In a proposed project, which would make the hike down to the bottom of the canyon that much easier. The project plan seen here would create hotels, restaurants, shops, and a gondola.
So that gives us that opportunity.
State Senator and former president of the Navajo Nation, Albert Hale, is one of the partners for the Escalade project, which has sparked an outcry because of its potential impact.
We were looking at, putting the sidewalks on the ground, and that meant there was going to be a lot of disturbance on the ground itself. And then we went from there to try to minimize the environmental impact.
Grand Canyon National Park Superintendent Dave UBERUAGA says the project may also run into legal problems.
The way the tram landing is, as proposed, lands on parklands. So it's a trespassing into Grand Canyon National Park.
The Colorado River has lost more than 17 trillion gallons of water in the last 10 years, according to a study by NASA and the University of California, Irvine.
It is the water source for over 30 million people. The trends have been in a diminished flow year after year, and so that's a challenge for the whole community. Everybody's talking about it, whether it's the state or the federal level. All the states are concerned about the flow.
Grant Emmerich has been hiking the Grand Canyon extensively since he was 8 years old. The Escalade project on the Colorado River is frightening to him.
It's a huge amount of places to get water to the Colorado, most of Arizona and some of California. And that would diminish the supplies, certainly, and it might alter the flow of the river as well.
The water source that would support the development has yet to be identified, according to the Park Service.
A fundamental that's never talked about yet is where's the water for that resort going to come from? So water and sewer, the basic infrastructure is not in place.
But Navajo advocates say they have a right to the water due to its proximity to their land.
Indian nations have been left out of water rights settlement, but if you have the water rights, you have the right to use that water.
For centuries, the Colorado River has carved and molded the Grand Canyon into what it is today. The fight over this critical resource seems to have no foreseeable end.
The first ever economic study of the Colorado River was published, giving us a look into just how much the lower basin states would be affected by a water shortage. Cronkite News reporter Laura Spizzato sat down with the lead economist on a study to learn what the impact would be on businesses.
The study was done for Protect the Flows by the W.P. Carey School of Business, and it helps place a number on just how important this Colorado River system is. In Arizona alone, 2 million jobs depend on it annually. Court Fetter and his wife own the only paddleboard shop in the state.
We probably see 300-400 people a week.
Fetter says he owes most of his success to the bodies of water here in Arizona.
A large portion of our rental business is keyed and zoned towards the Colorado River.
A new study by Protect the Flows says that the Colorado River generates nearly $1.4 trillion annually. Professor Tim James says that economically, it impacts everyone.
The numbers tell you that the sectors which would suffer most as a result of water availability reductions would be things that you wouldn't really expect.
The study says that the Colorado River provides over 16 million jobs, and that if the river dried up, Arizona would lose more than $870 billion in labor. And that's just for 1 year.
Water just doesn't come out of the tap.
Although Protect the Flow study has gained a lot of recognition in the past few days, there are some who say that the research just isn't that realistic.
There's a lot of water law that is all set up to determine when there are reductions to water, how those reductions take place.
The software used for the study based its calculations off the assumption that the river would dry up completely.
The authors acknowledge in their report that that's vanishingly unlikely.
But both agree that responsible water usage is necessary for more businesses than just FETTER's.
With any kind of water shortage, that would definitely impact us and may shut us down.
According to levels at Lake Mead, we are currently less than 15 feet away from a light water shortage. Live in the Media Center, Laura Sposato, Cronkite News.
Aspens have become a landmark for northern Arizona, attracting tourists to the area each fall. But officials say they are declining up to 90%. As I found out, the solution to this problem, well, that depends on who you ask. If you listen closely, you can hear it. The paper-thin leaves of the aspen shimmering in the wind. It's a picture-perfect setting at Hart Prairie, as Bonnie Stevens reads from her children's book, Quaking Aspen.
But our great quaking aspen groves may not return to us year after year. They are in danger of disappearing.
That's because there is a decline of aspens in northern Arizona.
We are concerned about our aspen forest because of a very complicated, complex, and multifaceted events that have happened actually over the last 100 years.
Droughts, insects, disease, animal damage, and competing trees are some of the suspected culprits in the aspen decline. Pine trees compete with the aspen for soil and water, pushing them out.
Say you have a small turkey and it's Thanksgiving dinner. You got a turkey that's going to feed 10 people, you have a crowd of 25. Somebody's going hungry. And that's kind of what the condition our forests are in.
Control fires can also promote aspen regeneration.
That same lack of fire has stressed out aspen because those conifer trees have succeeded in taking over a lot of the aspen sites.
They're also trying to prevent elk and other animals from snacking on the aspen.
Aspen is kind of a ice cream candy sort of species for many different animals.
Right now, over 50 fences stand throughout Flagstaff, built to keep animals away from the trees.
But you can tell within 100 feet outside this enclosure, this is fairly typical of what's seen where aspen are not protected.
Using a technique called jackstrawing, cutting conifers to create a barrier around the aspens is an alternative to traditional fencing.
By the time the trees have grown up sufficiently large to be protected, this barrier will start to break down. So we don't have a permanent structure that's left on the landscape.
As Stevens finishes her book, she leaves the aspen solution up to the reader.
The happy ending really depends on how well educated we are and what kind of caretakers we are for our natural resources.
While officials work to fix the aspen decline, Stevens and others will enjoy what remains of the golden leaves dancing in the wind. In Flagstaff, Megan Guthrie, Cronkite News.
Tombstone, Arizona. Locals call it the town too tough to die, but hard economic times makes the town's future unclear. Cronkite News reporter Ivan Rodriguez traveled to Tombstone where he found more than just history.
Tombstone is trying to survive, but interest in Wild West history seems to be waning. The city hopes there is still a longing to revisit a great part of American history. One of the last frontier boomtowns in the old American West, Tombstone prospered mostly in the late 1800s. The town is best known for the fight at the OK Corral. But what is this small town's place in America today?
Those of us that grew up during the days of the TV westerns have a fascination for the Old West in America, and nothing says it better than Tombstone, a sort of cowboy mecca here.
If you take a look at the number of people who've signed into the visitor center since 2010, you see a roller coaster, highs in one year and lows in the next. In the past 5 years, more than 167,000 passed through.
We have our seasons, and we have our ups and our downs. The first Eldorado celebration had people shoulder to shoulder right out here in Allen Street. And during the heyday of TV westerns in the 1950s and 60s, we had a lot, then it tapered off. Then when the movie Tombstone came out in 1993, it boosted up again. And now it's taking a little bit of a dip, but hopefully with the revival of westerns on TV and in the movies, it will pick up again as younger people become fascinated with the Old West.
Many of the original buildings are still standing. Tourists flock to the historic Birdcage Theater, which was a saloon, gambling hall, house of ill repute, and theater all in one. It was also the home of a surprisingly long poker game.
Right down here, this is where they had the West's longest poker game. It lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. It was non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the minimum buy-in was $1,000 to get into the game. That would be like $330,000 today, just to give you an idea.
And of course, the reference point for anyone who visits is the movie Tombstone, released in 1993.
I always tell people when they first come to Tombstone to watch the movie that's now about 21 years old, and then come out here and go through these old buildings like the Birdcage, the courthouse, the OK Corral, and then when they go home, watch the movie again, and they will understand it so much more than when they watch it the first time.
And they can pretend they are part of the action, shoot a 6-shooter, and imagine what it was like to be in the middle of the fight at the OK Corral.
I got one left for you, Holiday.
Those who visit Tombstone have mixed feelings. Some don't like that it has become too touristy, while others say it was on their bucket list.
The world is losing interest in it, maybe because it's just old hat, maybe, but we're not seeing too many new westerns being made. And I think that's a shame. It's as much a shame as any of our history. Our history is being ignored, not only by our cinematography, but also by our educators. You know, if we don't pay attention to history, we relive it.
For many locals, Tombstone also remains a sacred part of Americana.
It's America, it's history, it's part of our Old West tradition of the days when the man solved his problems with his fists and his guns.
And when the sun goes down, don't think that the show is over, because it's only just beginning. Tombstone's place in modern history is still uncertain. The Old West town maintains hope that younger generations will fall in love with its history just as people have before. Ivan Rodriguez, Cronkite News.
To some, it may just look like a plot of dirt, but to others, it's an eternal resting place. Tracing Arizona's history can be difficult, but one organization is helping modernize the past. As part of our Access Across Arizona project, we're traveling to every county in the state to bring you often untold stories. Tonight, we head to Gila County and the city of Globe, where some volunteers are working to preserve a piece of our state's history. Reporter Colton Krolak joins us now live from Globe. Colton?
That's right. Cronkite reporter Lacey Darrow and I traveled to Globe, Arizona, here in Gila County, to track down those who are dedicated to preserving Arizona history. But it's not the typical historic sites they're worried about preserving, it's grave sites. These mounds represent lives of Globe residents who have helped settle this area as far back as the 1800s. The Globe, Arizona Cemetery has several thousand plots, but many of the families of the deceased have long moved away. That's where findagrave.com comes in.
Find a Grave is a resource or a service to people who do not live necessarily in this area, who want to obtain a picture or a location for a loved one.
Anyone looking for information regarding a relative can log on to the site and do a search. Volunteers like Joe Scammell and Leanne Powers have spent countless hours walking the cemetery, taking photos of the memorials, and uploading them to the site so that families of the deceased can see the memorial without having to travel to the remote area.
As a legacy of our history, our Arizona history, of our Globe history, it's important to remember these people and to try to get the information as accurate as we can.
But over the decades, many of the markers indicating who lies below have become weathered, vandalized, or simply did not exist in the first place.
But we know that there's somebody buried there. We just can't tell you who.
During the time periods that a lot of these people were buried was late 1800s, early 1900s. People were very poor, and there are a great many of those graves, and graves of children and babies. They didn't have the money to put markers on there.
Together, using newspapers, the internet, and other historical items, the volunteers try to identify the individual in every plot of the cemetery. They also receive requests from families who are looking for a long-lost loved one. Sometimes, they're able to send them a picture of the memorial.
There's Bill Green! There he is, but looking for him!
Other times, they simply cannot be found.
We'll give that 110% to find the monument, but we can't expend a tremendous amount of time on one individual as much as we'd like to.
Either way, the volunteers are doing their best to preserve a small piece of Arizona history.
We're making a difference. We feel like we're making a difference.
Now, we got to see firsthand how hard these two work. And while we were filming, Leanne and Joe actually found where the grave was of a baby they had been looking for. Live in Globe, Colton Krolak, Cronkite News.
But now tons of people are racing over to a park that recently opened in Mesa. And as Colton Krolak reports, once they get there, they continue to speed.
Challenging. Keeps you on your toes.
When the word park comes to mind, most would think that it would have more grass.
It's our first park that we've ever opened that doesn't have a single blade of grass planted in it.
Desert Trails Park utilized the already existing terrain to build BMX bike trails. Riders like Dylan Thorman couldn't believe it.
When I saw the construction going in here, I thought we were going to get some rich neighborhood on the hill, and ended up building a bike park.
There are 3 different downhill trails, each for different skill levels, as well as a regular bike trail around the mountain.
You can step up when you're ready. It's cool because you got all kinds of ages out here, young, old. I actually got a couple little 14-year-old kids I know that tear it up better than I do.
Since bikers consider riding a sport for everyone, everybody seems to have a different reason why they love it.
If I'm not pushing my body to the limits, I'm not really having fun.
There's nothing that's going to stop you from doing it for a really long time. And it's really good for you. I mean, in terms of you get your cardio, you work out your legs a lot.
It's called a mountain board, and I'm just more comfortable on boards than I am on 2 wheels. Didn't learn how to ride a bike till I was 11, so, you know, just kind of sticking to my board.
Regardless of why, people are flocking to the trails. One reason could be because it's free.
I literally called my buddy up last weekend and invited him to come out here, and first thing he asked me was, how much is it? And I told him free, and he's like, dude, I'm there.
The park is 35 acres large and also has hiking trails if you'd rather explore on 2 feet instead of 2 wheels. In Mesa, Colton Krolak, Cronkite News.
It's the only zoo of its kind, running a program that is crucial to the Navajo Nation and its culture. In tonight's Across Arizona report, Cronkite News reporter Gabe Cordoba takes us to Apache County and the town of Window Rock to see what makes this zoo a treasure trove of tradition.
You won't find giraffes and elephants and things here, but you will find black bears and mountain lions and bobcats.
Home to more than 50 species and 100 total animals, the Navajo Nation Zoological and Botanical Park is the only Native American-run zoo in the country. Each animal in the zoo is important to the Navajo people.
And the nice thing about the Navajo Zoo is that it's unique in that we are probably one of the few, if only, zoos in the country that can really speak about the traditions and the importance of these animals to the native people here.
Each animal's enclosure contains a sign with the Navajo name and a story about the animal. While the animals help connect the Navajo people to their heritage, McKissick says the zoo is necessary for the animals as well.
We are a sanctuary for nature and the spirit in that way. All of our animals could not be released to the wild because they were either injured to the point where they could not feed themselves or they were orphaned as young. Every animal, every species, to some degree, shows up in their emergence stories or in their wintertime stories, or parts of them are used in ceremonies, and in particular, golden eagle feathers.
The Navajo Zoo received a federal permit as a part of the pilot program in 2012 to be able to legally distribute golden eagle feathers that are naturally molted from the eagles in the zoo. The legal distribution is key. Illegal selling, trading, or bartering of golden eagle feathers carries big consequences.
And there are serious repercussions for people caught buying, selling, trading eagle feathers. There is jail time, there is heavy fines.
Regulations for golden eagle feathers allow Navajo people to obtain feathers simply by filling out the proper forms and providing proof of identity.
Medicine men here with the Navajo Nation, they will use the feathers in ceremonies. And those feathers then are become a vital part of that ceremony.
Just as golden eagle feathers are a vital part of the Navajo culture.
It's the beloved cartoon about the modern Stone Age family, but the future of one Arizona theme park based on these Hanna-Barbera characters of the past is rocky. Cronkite News reporter LYNNIE brings us up to date.
If you're driving to the Grand Canyon anytime soon, you might want to make a stop at this roadside attraction before it disappears. After 43 years of being open, Bedrock City is up for sale. I headed north to talk to theme park owner about the future of the Flintstones theme park.
Hi, Wilma.
Bedrock City is a place most people have only seen in cartoons. But if you make it up to northern Arizona, you can see the cartoon city for yourself. 30 miles south of the Grand Canyon, you can find what one visitor calls a different planet. You can visit the house of your favorite Flintstone character, watch old cartoons in the theater, and even slide down the tail of a dinosaur. Visitor Jared Elizaris says it was the giant Fred Flintstone that made him stop his car and check it out.
And I just thought it was worth stopping by.
But this may be one of the last times he or anyone else gets a chance to see this place. Park owner Linda Speckles says she's selling Bedrock City.
I'm an old lady. I need to move on with my life. But mainly I want to spend more time with my family, and I just haven't had time operating the business.
Her late husband built the park 43 years ago, and she's been running the place herself. She's not the only one moving on. RoadsideAmerica.com says attractions like this one have been disappearing from the American highways.
They're just kind of a sign of an older time when people would trek across the United States instead of flying. You would stop by any little thing that caught your eye.
As to the fate of the attraction, the owner says the new owners will have to renegotiate the licensing with Hanna-Barbera if they want to keep the Flintstones theme. She sees the property as a location for a new hotel or even a casino. Bedrock City is listed for $2 million. And one more interesting note, today is the 55th anniversary of the show's debut. I'm LYNNIE Nguyen, Cronkite News.
Thanks for joining us for this Cronkite News special on Arizona Treasures. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.